World War II is taught as inevitable. The good guys won. Justice prevailed. The end. But anyone who studies the actual battles knows the truth. It was brutally close. Multiple times. The most dangerous moment? May 1940. The British Expeditionary Force, 330,000 soldiers, was trapped on the beaches of Dunkirk, France, with the German army closing in. Hitler, for reasons historians still debate, ordered his tanks to halt for 3 days. 3 days. That pause allowed one of the most extraordinary evacuations in military history. Over 338,000 soldiers rescued by a fleet of military ships and civilian boats. If Hitler doesn't halt, if those tanks keep moving, the British Army is captured or destroyed on that beach. Winston Churchill, who had just become Prime Minister days earlier, is politically finished. Britain sues for peace. America is still neutral. The Soviet Union has a non-aggression pact with Germany. With Britain out of the war, Germany controls Europe from the Atlantic to the edge of Russia. Now what? Without Britain as a base, the U.S. has nowhere to launch a Western front. D-Day, June 6, 1944, never happens. There is no two-front war. Germany can pour every resource into the Eastern Front against the Soviet Union. Does Germany defeat the Soviet Union? Historians are split. The USSR was massive. Its geography was its defense. But without a Western Front draining German resources, the Eastern Campaign has a different character. Stalingrad, the turning point of the war, may go differently. Let's say Germany doesn't fully conquer the USSR. What you get is a negotiated partition. Germany controls Western Russia and Europe. The Soviet Union retreats to the Urals. A frozen, brutal standoff. Meanwhile, Japan, now confident that America won't enter the war in Europe, accelerates its Pacific ambitions. The attack on Pearl Harbor still happens in December 1941. But this time, America is fighting Japan alone in the Pacific, with no European allies. The Manhattan Project still happens. America's nuclear program was driven by fear that Germany was building the bomb. In this timeline, that fear is even more acute. The atomic bomb gets built. And here's the terrible question. Without the moral weight of the Holocaust being fully exposed and prosecuted at Nuremberg, without the collective trauma that created modern international norms, does America hesitate before using it? In this world, Hiroshima and Nagasaki still happen. Japan surrenders. America controls the Pacific. But Europe is under Nazi control. The Holocaust, without Allied liberation, continues. The systematic murder of Jewish people, Roma, disabled people, political prisoners, continues through the 1940s and into the 1950s until there is no one left to kill. And then the real question, how long does a Nazi Europe last? Empires built on terror and genocide carry their own destruction inside them. Historical analysis suggests that without a military defeat, the Nazi state might have lasted 20 to 50 years before internal collapse, resistance movements, and economic dysfunction tore it apart. The world that emerges in the 1980s or 1990s from that collapse would be rebuilding from an atrocity that lasted 40 years longer than it did in our timeline. We live in the world the Allies built. International law, human rights frameworks, the United Nations, NATO, the European Union, all of it constructed specifically to ensure it could never happen again. Without the Allied victory, none of those institutions exist. We take for granted the world we inherited. We shouldn't. What if then would? Subscribe. History was not inevitable. It was fought for.